Hello and welcome to Westminster's midday meditation on Thursday. This is Rula. Last week I talked to you about love, and Pastor Wes preached about the same topic. This Sunday I'm going to preach about love again, and today the topic is also going to be love. So a lot of love to go around, and we're trying to kind of explore this theme from different angles. And today I want to talk about God as love, as explored by Saint Augustine, who's a church father. And for him, when he says God is love, that automatically points to the Trinity, where God is the lover and the beloved, and the love that combines them. So this research is not mine. It belongs to a colleague, but I saw that it fits perfectly into our theme for these couple of weeks. God is love, as the Epistle of John tells us in chapter 15, and that love is shared in the divine community of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So as I said, for Augustine, love is best illustrated in the nature of the Trinity. He says, now who I'm asking about this love anything, there are three things present: I myself, what I love, and love itself. For I cannot love love unless I love a lover. For there is no love where nothing is loved. So there are three things: the lover, the loved, and the love. So from this analogy, Augustine argues that God's nature is relational, expressed in a divine community of love. And it cannot be said that God is love if God is alone, according to his logic. Instead, love resides both in God's nature as a personal being and especially in relationship to the beloved, which is the Jesus Christ, the second person of the Trinity, by love, which is the Holy Spirit, the third person of the Trinity. And he argues that through love, God reaches out to the creation and calls it back into a relationship with God through the redeeming work of the Christ and by the transformational work of the Holy Spirit. So us and creation become kind of part of this community of love. Which is what I think is cool, because the Trinity is not like just out there and separate from the rest of creation. So I know this is like a little bit sophisticated, and this analogy is not intended to answer all of our logical reasoning concerning the nature of the Trinity. But it does lead us to a vital application of that statement that God is love for the Christian life. So we become image bearers of God, and if we're reflecting that image, we cannot reflect it um, solely in our persons by ourselves or each on their own. Instead, to bear the image of God as a relational Trinity, we do that by being in community with one another. Relationships are intended to reflect the divine community of love. Um, and therefore, we may ask, as a community of love ourselves, how do we reflect the reality of the Trinity in our world? And how can we draw others into this redeemed community and away from loneliness and isolation and self-destructions that kind of draw us away from that nature of the Trinity and from God, who is love. Um, so the Trinity the very nature of God becomes the way in which we image God in this world through the community of believers and not as isolated individuals. And so we are to call others into that community, enfolded in the life of the Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, love, lover, and beloved, and a divine community. So that's kind of Augustine's logic, which makes us part of that statement, God is love, and makes the nature of God is love not separated from the nature of creation. Um, this is uh, a separate kind of Augustine logic on love, and I would like to end us with this little part of St. Augustine's Confessions. He says, "Late have I loved you, beauty so old and so new. Late have I loved you. And see, you were within, and I was in the external world and sought you there. And in my unlovely state, I plunged into those lovely created things which you made. You were with me, and I was not with you. The lovely things kept me far from you, though if they did not have their existence in you, they had no existence at all. You called and cried out loud and shattered my deafness. You were radiant and resplendent. You put to flight my blindness. You were fragrant, and I drew in my breath and now pant after you. I tasted you, and I feel but hunger and thirst for you. You touched me, and I'm set on fire to attain the peace which is yours." I hope these words will give us something to reflect on this weekend, and I hope that there's something meaningful and that touches you in those ideas of seeking God and seeking that divine community and of love and living lives that aim at being part of that community. Thank you for listening, and I will see you all on Sunday.